Hello, everyone. We're here to speak with one of the brilliant minds of his generation. Meet Yorgo Tloupas, who has a lot to say, be aware. He's the founder of a multi-award-winning practice and studio based in Paris called Yorgo&Co. And he's both a designer, an art director, a logo expert, a teacher, and so much more. And I hope this conference on, or more masterclass on branding as a way to increase international desirability is going to be eye-opening for you. It is always for me. So very happy to welcome Yorgo, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot. So starting with somehow the art of the logo, because that's how we could define you as a logo expert. I'd love for you to take us through how you design logos. And we have a little...
Hi, everyone.
The presentation.
I'm talking about logos, but we see furniture. I know there's a lot of furniture around here. But this is nice couch.
We need the presentation. But sorry. I don't think we have it. So let's give the technicians just a few minutes to have the good one.
So, thank you,
let's
Clara.
talk about your...
No, but really,
what
we're going to talk about today, or what I'm going to talk, and with Clara helping me focus, is, I wouldn't say graphic design, because that's a bit limiting, but the art of branding. And as you know, and as you'll see, branding is extremely important, and it quite often makes the difference between products. If you look at the clothes you're all wearing, there's quality differences, of course, don't get me wrong, but sometimes what makes the difference, what generates the price difference is a small F for Fendi instead of, actually there's no Z for Zara, but you know, that's what usually makes a difference, and society today is really ruled by this. Okay, we have the presentation.
Branding, the ultimate desirability asset, and you'll see how this is run by a mastermind.
Thank you. So, first of all, we all know that, you know where we are in Maison&Objet, and we live in a design world, and this is actually quite important. I think the difference of product or service quality between brands has shrunk. So this is simple and complicated to understand, but basically on the left, you have a Skoda from 1985 and a BMW from 1985. Okay, I chose probably the best BMW from that period, but there were very different cars back then. You know, the BMW was an amazing engine, amazing everything, the best in class, and the Skoda, I mean, all respect due to Skoda, wasn't a very good car, okay? Today, last year in that picture, those two cars are pretty much the same car. The engine, the autonomy, the navigation systems, the sound of the doors, you know, and they are pretty much the same cars. So the product quality, the difference has shrunk. What the difference is design. I mean, in that case, one could argue that they also kind of look the same now, and that's another story. But so basically, design is key in differentiating. This is, of course, the example that everyone knows, but it's a good reminder to see what was happening in 1998 when Johnny Ive launched that Macintosh, which was a revolution. That's not a fake picture on the left. That's what an IBM computer looked in 1998. So obviously, the differentiation factor for Apple beyond the operating system was design, and they surfed on that wave of the power of design. And it's not for nothing that, what's his name, Johnny Ive was part of the board of directors of Apple. Okay, and what I was telling you earlier, the ultimate design identification element is the logotype. As you've seen, the Skoda and the BMW, they kind of look the same. If you change the logos, I defy my mom to make the difference and to say which one is a BMW or a Skoda. Those two caps, New York Yankees and not New York Yankees, are literally the same, but they carry very different messages and obviously very different price tags, okay?
So we're down to logo is king.
Logo is king. Logo is king, why? It's, to me, the most powerful, most ancient, most universal form of design. Because logotypes, if you think about it, they were here before typography. Typography is a design element. Speaking of which, I apologize, because this is not my custom typography. Normally on my computer, we've designed a font for my studio, which is not this one. This looks like Arial. Basically, when you think about logos, you think about this, okay? Everyone knows what this is. Or those things, you know, it's actually quite interesting because sometimes I test my students and most of them can only recognize, I would say, Omega, Suzuki, Rolex, and sometimes Opel. You've got KLM, the airline, below Opel, and Warner Music by Soul Bass below KLM, Target, obviously, and CBS. Okay, so this is what people think a logo is. Those things, in my opinion, are logotypes. They're just information logotypes, so nuclear waste, highway, how do you call it?
Disabled.
Disabled, and the feminine symbol. If you think about it, those monograms are logos as well, you know. Diane de Poitiers, Superman, Albert Dürer, signatures of artists, superheroes, and medieval heraldic symbols, okay, logos. Those are logos. Some of you might remember the Obama logo above Superman, which was a symbol of an O and a sun rising over the plains of the Midwest. You have the Extension Rebellion thing below Rolex and the Peace and Love sign. All those signs were designed by graphic designers, commissioned and paid, hopefully. I'm not sure about the Extension Rebellion. Those are logotypes, sorry to reach the Godwin point of design, but obviously flags, especially flags with symbolic forms. Obviously the French flag cannot become a logotype. It's, if you put it in black and white, it's exactly the same as the Belgian or the Italian flag, okay? The Svatsitska was a sign way before the Third Reich used it, but it follows all the rules of a good logotype, which we will see later. And to finish, all of those are symbols, but they follow the rules of logotypes. The Christian cross, the Star of David, or the crescent, they're all logotypes. And it's quite interesting how, you know, the link is not made more often. So if some of you follow fashion, this is one of the most successful brands recently. It's Marine Serre, and that's a catwalk outfit. That's also her most successful pattern. I mean, she uses that pattern, and that's how you recognize someone is wearing Marine Serre, obviously. And she does upcycling, but I'm pretty much sure most of the money her company makes is from that pattern and that logotype. And she explained why she used it recently in a podcast, and it was actually a reference to the crescent of the Islamic religion.
So from logo to branding, how do we get, what's the link?
This is quite interesting. Basically, branding doesn't get much recognition as an art form, obviously, but it's basically a science. And if you follow the rules that I've put together, you're kind of guaranteed to have, first of all, quality, recognition, efficiency, and also you might and you will save money and be flexible. So rule number one, everyone knows that rule. Not everyone knows that rule actually. Go to Total Energy to fill up your car and you'll see they don't know it. Any logo must be able to work in a single shade. So this is the logotype I did for Martell, the French cognac brand. The logo itself is not monochromatic. It's blue, gold, and another blue, okay, on the bottles. But they need to be able to engrave it on the thousands and millions of glasses that they produce. So single shade, imperative. Monochromatic, basically. Second thing, you should never use shadows and gradient effects. So for each of those logos, you can think of Total Energy, the French petroleum company, because they follow none of the rules. So second thing, flat, you shouldn't use gradients. This is the logo for a designer, Noé Duchaufour-Laurence. I'm sure there's work by him somewhere here.
Yes, it has to be.
and I did an N for Noé, which looks like it's got a shadow. If you look on the side of the book, there's clearly a shadow, but the shadow is not made with small dots or anything. It's just made by getting the lines closer to each other, okay? Geometric, you should use geometric logotypes for many reasons. This is a logo for a gallery called Kamel Menour in Paris, which I did a few years ago. It's both a K in vertical and an M at the bottom, and it's also the white space of the gallery in the counter shape. But basically, because it's three super simple triangles, there's no way to mess it up. You cannot reproduce it in the wrong manner, okay? Small, that's an obvious rule, which actually the social media tools have forced us to follow. If your logotype doesn't go on your Instagram avatar when it's reduced at the bottom of your screen, not the top one, the bottom one is super tiny, doesn't work. This is the logo for Daniel Berniard, one of the three tortoise-shell glasses makers left in France. He uses actual shells from tortoises. He doesn't kill them, he uses old shells, okay? And so I did the logo for him, that's the glasses I'm wearing, and he has a very physical space to fill, okay? You don't have like that wide unless you're wearing like Versace glasses. Normally your glasses have a very thin side, okay? So it needs to fit in there. Constructible kind of goes with geometric, but if your logo can be cut out of something or put in relief or in, whatever, put into objects, it's super economical. So this is the logo for a ski brand that I co-founded in 2006, which you'll see much more after. And because we did that shape, which cost us maybe 200 euros 10 years ago, we can still every year do our catalogs with that shape that looks like it's expensive, okay? And the only rule out of those 6 rules that is kind of subjective and not like a fact, like an economic fact, it's polysemic. Polysemic means more than one meaning. So this is the logo for my cafe. I have a cafe in Paris, Rue des Martyrs, a Greek cafe. I'm half Greek. I have a cafe. And it's called Yorgo&Co, which is my nickname in Greek, Yorgo&Co. And it's a Y, the first letter of Yorgo&Co, but it's also the Greek frieze, the antique frieze. But it's also very constructible. So to do the ground of the cafe, I just told the guy who was doing it, oh, this is how it's supposed to work. And because the lines are the same width, the white and the blue lines are the same width, there was no way he could make a mistake. Imagine if Total Energy, sorry, I'm going back to them, had to do this in tiling. I don't want to see the budget and the way it looks at the end, okay? So the rules, monochrome, flat, geometric, small, constructible, polysemic. If you don't follow them, that's what you get, okay? Total, they're still around, okay? And the previous logo was bad enough already. So they had to make it, it's a colorful logo, but they did a cheap version for Total Access. So it's not the same logo as the other one, because the other one doesn't have lines between the swooshes, okay? Flat, NG, they had to call a second company to produce a gradient for their logo in the back, instead of just one company to build the sign. Specialized, every angle on a neon costs more when you build neons, so the specialized bike logo costs a lot more. Small, this is, so you'll notice that I'm showing companies that all are very successful, so I'm kind of saying one thing and the other. Our logo is important, yes. Do they help you earn money? I'm not sure. Small, Arc'teryx, a clothing label, it doesn't work in small on a piece of clothing, it's hard to reproduce. Constructible, Firefox, this must have cost, I would say, $8,000 per side. And polysemic, the X logo of our friend Elon Musk. First of all, it's a letter that he found on some kind of free font somewhere. And second, it just means X. There's no second meaning, okay?
And when we were preparing the conference, you mentioned the swoosh, which is probably one of the most known logos around the world for Nike, which should have been completely avoided.
I think it should be avoided, that's my opinion. It's ubiquitous, it became omnipresent in the 90s. So that's where it comes from, basically, early shapes of the great comet of 1755. I mean, I'm sure the designer from Nike didn't think about this, but this is what she did. for a very Caroline Davidson. She did it. It's very famous because she did it for like 35 or 60 euros or dollars. But then she got given shares of Nike, thank God. It was a commission. Phil Knight said, "Oh, I want something to go against the free lines of Adidas. What can you do?" She did this. It's not a very good logo, but it became extremely famous because of the success of Nike. Okay. Interesting, the swoosh, that's why you should avoid the swoosh. In itself, okay, I don't especially like the shape of a swoosh, but this is interesting, okay? Ready? So, how do I go back? It's interesting. Ooh, nice. So all those companies have nothing to do with each other, okay? Lactalis, they do milk. Swiss Smile, they do toothbrush. Al Gore, he does politics. He did politics. HEC, they're supposedly one of the most prestigious schools in France. They all use the same shape. And if you look below Lactalis, this is what you can buy on any design website. Company name, slogan. So you put your company name, Maison&Objet, slogan, whatever, and then you have the swoosh. I mean, this one's got an X on top. So that's actually quite an interesting slide, which I'd love to show to the people at HEC, which is literally the most prestigious business school in France. They have the same exact logo as a myriad of, not really, yeah, there's the Healthy Teen Project, okay. This is interesting as well. You saw Swiss Smile earlier. I mean, in that sense, it kind of has a double meaning, okay. It's the smile and the arrow sometimes. Some of them are exactly like the Amazon logo. So the swoosh, I would recommend not to use a swoosh, okay. For this is also part of my science of the logo. There's 3 categories of symbol. Literally, if someone thinks of another one, I'm happy to hear, but I don't think there are more than 3 categories of symbol. Typographic, so monograms, Louis Vuitton, Fila. Figurative, shell, Starbucks, like a shell and a mermaid. And metaphoric, so the Olympics, it's the 5 continents. Minolta, it's the rays of light through a lens, but it's really the metaphor of light, okay? So those are the 3 categories, in my opinion. You can combine them. So Black Crows, I combined the birds and the community. So that was the brief. We're a very special community of skiers. And I drew a simple bird, so bird community. This is Coursier.fr, the main bike messenger company in France. It's both a C and the speed, the metaphor of speed, okay? And typographic and figurative, so H for Happy Socks, a socks brand from Sweden, which I just redesigned. And it's obviously a face and an H, so you've got the mix.
And you have a very special method, which you call the 3Ds, that you're going to explain to make brands. So we're starting at looking at in-depth at branding and how you make things work.
Yeah, so I hate marketing. Sorry if people are marketing directors here, but I think it's not a very useful tool for brands. We built Black Rose without marketing, but in a way, our marketing was this. Thinking in 3D, the 3D moniker is something I've created because deep down I might be a marketing director. And there are 3 pillars. So first one, if you're creating a brand, if you have a brand, you have to distinguish yourself. So you have to be unique, different from the rest, both graphically, verbally, and in images. With Black Rose, and the rest of the presentation is about Black Rose. So if you like skiing, you're going to be happy. If you don't, it's interesting still. So distinguished, so Black Rose, we arrived in 2006, and we were very different from the market, and we are still extremely different from the market. D for dogmatized, and that's when I stay polite. I could say D for dictatorial. So basically, when you create a brand, the aesthetic needs to be done with a very dogmatic system. So if there's not someone saying no to this, no to that, be careful of this, be careful of that, you can be sure that it's going to go all around the place. So, for example, with Black Rose, that's one of our models, the Corvus, the first model. On the extreme left is the first model we did in 2007, 6-7, and the one from last year on the right. And as you can see, I've kept the logo exactly at the same position. The same size. The colors have stayed the same. Red, not red, pink, black and white, and a bit of gray sometimes. The information at the bottom, and every single thing is built around the chevron of the logo. So this is what I call being dogmatic and dictatorial.
I think it's important to stress on
pardon.
this, and all of you who are looking at collections and are making collections last, there's always a wariness coming out of number 10 or number 12 or number 20 or 30 something. You want to reinvent yourself, and it's difficult to reinvent yourself, but working within the framework that you first set is always a good base to go back to.
I mean, if you look at the Porsche 911, if you think about cars, they've been dogmatic. The shape of the Porsche 911 is pretty much the same since the beginning. Same with Chanel number 5, same with the iPhone, same with many legendary objects. Deploy is another one. When you start a brand, you must be able to diversify, both with your name and your design rules, basically. Black Crows, we've created a music festival called the Chamonix Unlimited Festival, electronic music festival in Chamonix. And it's using all the same exact codes of Black Crows, except the chevrons are in an unlimited shape. But basically, tomorrow, if we wanted, we could open a hotel, we could launch a food brand, we could do helmets, socks, whatever.
It's really about bringing meaning, because you're bringing your community together in a circle.
Yeah.
Whereas instead of freeing and flying like free birds, it suddenly becomes the community is brought together for the festival.
It's true. The Black Crow stories, so here it's going to go a bit faster because there's a lot of images, but it's super interesting. So back in... oh, interesting. I thought I had taken this out. Okay, Black Crows. Back in 2006, a friend of mine called Camille Jacou called me up and said, hey, we're launching a ski brand. Do you want to be part of it and design the logo? Okay, I designed the logo, and since then we've built the brand around this logo, which you're gonna see how it works. We've also got a custom typeface here. You can see that's our head of marketing, actually. Not head of marketing, head of community, Flo Bastien, Pierre Guyot, ski teachers, creative people, much better skiers than I am, obviously. So Black Crows, how did it start? So they called me up in, as I said, 2006. This is interesting. This is a picture of a ski shop in 2006. So this is how skis look like. And I don't want to be mean or anything, but this is horrible. This is like a disaster of design. I'm a design teacher. None of those skis get the average rate in the schools I teach at. This is, I mean, literally there's not a single one that saves the other. So the graphic design of skis was catastrophic. And so they called me up, they said the company is called Black Crows because it's the birds that fly high up in the mountains. I drew a simplified bird, okay, that's how you draw a bird. I thought about the community of skiers because they skied in a very different manner from most other skiers. And this is what happened with the logo. And based on that logo, every collection, and this is not in chronological order, uses that shape of the, we call it the chevron, to reinvent itself every year, but as I said, with a dogmatic system. So this was maybe 6 years ago.
And I would add maybe a fourth D, which is being disruptive. And I think when you come in designing Black Crows, we're at a moment where free riders and a different way of skiing is about to come along in the community, because you were either a free rider or you were a classic alpine skier. And suddenly you opened a market for people who had the freedom to ski and wanted a unique product that represented alpine skiing with this kind of freedom you find amongst skateboarders or free riders.
Indeed. And so design-wise, how does it build? This is a 3D chevron that deconstructs itself. This is a 3D chevron in the shape, in kind of an impossible geometric shape. They're all different seasons, okay? What's the next one? This is again the 3D, but zoomed in. The télécommande. Ah, voilà. This is a funny shot of, 3 generations of Black Crows on one ski lift. But it's quite interesting because the way where I put the logo was very strategic. It's not here for no reason. It's here because that's what you see when you're on a chairlift. That's what you see when you're when you're skiing, when you're waiting in line, and people take that shot all the time. It's literally an walking advertising. The bases have been extremely dictatorial from the start. It's basically an oversized lettering with our custom typeface saying Black Rose. Why is it efficient? Because that's a very distant shot, sorry, and you can see it's like a massive billboard saying the brand. But if you look at each letter, they're almost illegible by themselves. So we always do those shots. Here we go, Black Rose, Black Rose. We did also an interesting thing when we launched our ski touring collection. Ski touring is when you hike up the mountain with skins, seals, how do you call them?
Sealskins.
Sealskins below the skis. You use those kind of skis. I made them monochrome. I had no memory of why I decided they should be monochrome, but back then no one did monochrome skis. If you go in a ski shop now, you'll see a few brands trying to go the monochrome way, but this has been very differentiating. And from kilometers away, I can spot people riding Black Rose, the touring skis, because they have that monochrome thing. This is Bruno, one of the founders, skiing where I would not personally ski, because if you fall, you die. But as you can see, up, another ski with the logo in the front, and the monochrome ski. So they're very, very efficient for that, okay? Monochrome. Funny thing also we did, the ski poles, there's different models, but they all have the logo or a variant of the logo on the poles, on the basket. So when you do ski touring, you can see if someone with a pair of Black Rose has passed by before with Black Rose poles. It's like, you know, when there's a murder, you look at the shoe soles. Here we go, you can leave your mark on the snow. We launched clothing also in 2015, maybe, I think. And I said, okay, let's do clothing in a way that you can wear it in town and skiing. So all the tops were either beige, brown, or dark blue, and the bottoms were either very flashy or the same color. So you could wear them in a meeting in Paris, which I did quite often, and go skiing with them the day after. We used the chevron in multiple ways. This is Camille, one of the founders, wearing, I can't even tell you how many times the chevrons in there, on the the tapes inside, on the gloves, on the, how do you call the bretelle, suspenders, on the pattern of the t-shirt, everywhere. I've put the logo here on the forearm, also because no one really puts logos there, but because skiers, when they use GoPro cameras, that's what you see. You see their hands and the logo, so it really works well when people film themselves. That's what I meant when I said clothing could be worn in town. This is all ski, not the hoodie, but the jackets are for skiing, but you can wear them in town, and if you're like a model, you're gonna look cool. I used also a reference to Peter Saville's Joy Division album cover using the silhouettes of the mountains of Chamonix with chevrons. So now, Black Rose, we do bags, beanies, poles, gloves, skis, and clothing. So it's quite a complete system. We've done this map of Chamonix, which is quite funny, all done with millions of chevrons. Here we go. Each line of altitude is made with chevrons. The shape of the clothing also used the 45-degree angle. The buttons use the chevron. This is where the logo is on the legs. You know, again, you see it in videos when people film their skis. You see the logo. On the gloves, I've put it there, again, for visibility purposes.
You see how consistent he is. He's going to put it everywhere.
You can see the pattern on the glove is made with chevrons. And that's what I mean when I say dictatorial. You have to use the logo everywhere. But because it fulfills all the rules I've said before, it's super easy to do it in small, on anywhere, you know. Even on the ropes, this is a super close-up of the ropes inside the jacket, and we have chevrons in there, okay? Travel bags. Another thing which, one of the 3Ds we've used to differentiate ourselves, all our products have got Latin names. Why do they have Latin names? Because the first file I sent to Camille, my Illustrator file of the first ski, just to name the file, because you have to name a file, not the ski, the file was called Corvus, which is crow in Latin. Black Rose, crow, Corvus, okay, bam. And that became, you know, without, again, a marketing director, that became our rule. So every product has got a name in Latin. Atrice is one of our skis. Birdie means it's a female model. The other thing that's very special with Black Rose, on the first ski, I put below the foot, I mean there, something that said, if you can read this, you're not skiing, which is an anecdote that it's a link to what the Americans put on their pickup trucks in the back. If you can read this, you're too close to me. And this became what we call our mottos, which are on the side of the skis. And every ski has got a small motto, which makes literally no sense, okay? Can you take a picture of me? I think I'm vegetarian, wildlife. On peut aller plus loin si tu veux. It's random. We have an Excel, like a Google Doc, where everyone writes stuff through the year, and at some point we choose which one we're going to use. I mean, voila. And it's funny, because people sometimes don't see them when they buy the skis, and one day they realize, and of course they're going to shoot it, of course it ends up on Instagram. On the bindings I wrote, no, actually I didn't like that one. You are a poet, you are not a poet. Depending on if the binding is open or closed, you can see this. Then advertising, again, differentiation. Every ski brand, every ski resort, every ski hotel, everything in skiing does the postcard turn, virage carte postale. So it's someone doing a turn, blue sky, powder, a lot of snow, okay, for the advertising. So what we decided was to do the exact opposite, all shot in studio, inspired by Japanese TV games. And for every season we've done this. I mean, it changed. Sometimes they were in red. Sometimes we used confetti made out of chevron. On that day, I was really upset because the cameraman didn't show up in time. And that was before the smartphone. So we don't have videos of those confetti that we built falling down. GoPro views, just the chevrons. This was in studio in Paris with musicians to show the clothing collection. Again, in a studio. This was quite funny. There's a dog. The lost guy on the right is holding a dog. It's so cute, with big chevrons everywhere. This was a season where the skis had kind of lines on them, made out of chevrons again. And so we created a studio here. We had a cameraman. It worked well. Another one with chevrons. And then we did a shoot where we set up our studio in the mountains. So it's a video that ends up with that studio at 3,200 meters high. I wasn't on that shoot because I was walking with crutches because I broke my knee skiing, of course. That's the danger of working for a ski brand. That was what I said about constructing. These are seats that are about the size of this. And we can build a big logo on the slopes. This is the office in Chamonix, logo cut out. This was quite fun. We did this at Colette, the store in Paris. That was actually our first window display, which I designed with an engineer who made this work. It was quite exciting. Again, dictatorial. So, okay, we have a new graphic. We're going to put the graphic and the skis in front so that you don't see the skis. You actually could see the skis very well, especially because the sides are red. But that worked quite a lot. We did it in many window displays. I built that system, which we call La Rosace. Super simple to build. Bit expensive because we need to immobilize, I think, 8 skis or 4 pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But super graphic, very efficient. We still use it in displays in stores, as you can see here. We also do the monochromatic windows. Those are really cheap, as you can see, but it works. Like the background is just a piece of cloth. Again.
What Yorgo is trying to show is how you can take your logo and your brand really far out and really differentiate it. He's chosen to show Black Rose, but it could have been Cartier. It could have been Pernod, in the way that things are thought with a systematism in them, that you can take them to another country, you can take them internationally. You don't need to be fluent in any language to understand it. And I think that's the strength of the logo behind, is you understand the community and you recognize it wherever you go.
It's true, and it's easier to be done when you start a brand. I could not do this with BMW, for example, today. This was done with Atelier Oy, designers from Switzerland. This is our booth, again, chevrons, that was at the trade show in Munich. This is the map you saw earlier in a window in Colette, etc., etc. I could go on forever, but at the end I've got quite a good resume of why this is different. Another trade show, no, that was at Bon Marché in Paris. You can imitate the Norwegian jackets, do patches. This was interesting. That's Bruno, the other founder of the brand. And for the 15-year anniversary, we removed the name of the brand. It was just the logo. And on the skis, you had 15 at the bottom, but on the top, it didn't say Black Crows. That's the festival, which happens, that was 5 years ago, but it happens every summer, every spring. And this is where it gets really interesting. So the brand has become so iconic, and it's, I mean, anyone who skis will probably know about this brand, but it's considered to be the biggest of the small brands. There's the massive ones, and out of the smalls, we're the biggest, but we're also the most followed by people. So this is a street, a street in Chamonix called Michel Croz. So they reversed the logo. I've got no idea who did all those things, okay? Cros in France is a beer, Cronenbourg, Black Crows, and the logos are made with caps of bottles. Corbeau, which is a very good, very humoristic take on the logo. Beautiful bodies, which also sounds like corbeau, which is crow. Everyone's got stickers on their phones, obviously. Some people use them as decoration for some reason. I mean, why not? And it's a super easy logo to draw. Like, I don't know who did this. It was in a trade show. Someone did this. I took a shot, but it's super, super easy. During COVID, we did a competition with our followers to see what objects they could build out of the logo. Actually, this was not part of it. The tattoos. This is a really horrible tattoo, but it's got my logo on it. I feel responsible. So people started playing around with, I guess it's salmon, aperitif, socks, metal, puzzles, ice cubes, cores. I mean, I never thought someone could do chevrons with a circular object, but they managed to. Legos, that's pretty easy. Cocktails, and voila. So just to finish, I have this thing which explains the recipe, basically. I mean, it's not easy to do this, okay? If I was to redo it today, recreate a brand with such consistency, I'm not sure I could do this. But what makes it equivalent, it's not just my design. It's basically the mix of, skiing meets design. As I said, there was not really any design attention but to skis. This is my office on the right in Paris. On the left, I guess it's Julien in La Plagne about to do something really dangerous. Birthplaces, no equivalent. Mountains, so Camille and Bruno, the founders, in the tunnel of the Aiguille du Midi in Chamonix, and me in front of my cafe in Paris, which I invite you to go and try the Greek coffee. Know-how, that's interesting. Julien on the left does the shapes of the skis. He's a legend in skiing. He's called Julien Régnier. His mother did the Grenoble Olympics. He did the Olympics in Nagano. He revolutionized freestyle skiing. And that's his workshop in the Alps, where he clearly knows how to make things work.
And
on the right,
we're going back to the notion of the need for a disruption element.
Yeah.
Because it's not, there's the strength of the logo, definitely, that pushes the product further, but the product is new. The product has a reality. It's king on the market. For those who like to free ride and ski, there's no equivalent. So it's applying the branding to a really meaningful product at the basis, because I think consumers today know exactly when there's no quality in a product. So the logo can hide the quality for some time, but then the brand collapses. So it's really quality object, design, whether function, form, design, plus the branding.
It's interesting here because sometimes people say, oh, it's just a design brand, and then they try the skis and they realize it's not. On the right, it's my office with chairs I've designed, and I'm not good at designing three-dimensional objects. When Julien came to my office, he said, oh, interesting chair, let's try it, and he broke it. So clearly, the function wasn't present in my object. Attitude, it's quite funny. Authenticity on the left is Bruno, who kind of lives in his truck. And arrogance, but yeah, with Camille, we won a prize in Como, and we showed up with, I mean, we had to show up with those outfits, but there's a lot of arrogance in Black Crows. This is super interesting. I don't know any other brand that can do that. We're stored in a really basic sports shop in Switzerland on the left, and in a proper sports shop in Chamonix, in Le Bon Marché in Paris, in Colette when it was alive, in some super cool concept store in Tokyo. So no equivalent of a brand being in all those stores. Users, no equivalent. Christopher is the World Tour, freeride World Tour champion twice, I think. Solver is the fashion photographer, he skis on Black Rose. The other guy is a ski bum, really, literally he lives in that hut behind, and then some Japanese celebrity skis with our skis. So.
I'd like to come back to no equivalent and the range of users, because you mentioned not having a marketing person.
We do have now.
You do have now, but it was based on community, and I think from the beginning, from the start, the logo put everyone at the same level. It was a community of users of ski, whatever the background, whatever the money, whatever the origin, whatever the talent.
Yeah, we still, you still look at other users with Black Rose, and if you don't smile to each other, you kind of acknowledge your presence. Sorry, it's starting to get really show off, but this is interesting. When I say Le Louvre, okay, we're not at the Louvre, we're in the same building, but this collection of skis has been purchased by the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris, and it's part of the permanent collection. It's the only skis, obviously, in their collection. Most of what they have is, actually stuff like product design, chairs and tables and etc. But we are in their collection. I'm extremely proud of this. This is actually quite interesting as well. My studio has been working on Black Rose, we've only worked with my studio since day one. So I take them skiing every year, try to come back with everyone in one shape, and we take a shot. That's part of my studio in the Alps.
And I think dogmatize, which is one of the 3Ds, could also mean really staying consistent. And I think brands we all love brands, and I don't know anyone that doesn't like brands. And I'm not talking luxury brands, I'm all types of brands. You like the consistency. You don't like products to change over whether in quality or in colors or in logo. It kind of loses people, so consistency is really important.
And this also, I'm going to finish on this, which is also obviously pretentious, but also the truth. I'm a ski designer. I'm specialized in ski design, and I know the market pretty well. And I don't think there's really an equivalent of someone specializing in ski design in that market. And that's also why I got quite lucky. I arrived in a market where there was no competition really. I mean, not much competition, and I got super lucky. It'd be much harder to do something as original and consistent in a market with much more competition, like, I don't know, album covers or
so choose
furniture.
The people, when you're branding, choose the people who know what they're talking about. And if they're not extremely good at what you're looking for, then look for other branding people.
And those are just the skis I get every year. I arrive in the office and they usually are skis for me with a post-it note, and I'm super happy. It's like the best present. Voila, so thank you. I hope for those of you who knew about Black Rose, it helped you understand. For those of you who are interested by brands, this is a very specific example. There's not many examples like that. I'm not talking about quality or anything. The consistency of the branding exercise is extremely rare, because basically I'm also a shareholder of the company, so I get involved in all the decisions. So it means there's consistency, and that's not so easy. So this is just a list of the clients I work for, and it's extremely exciting because every subject is different, but my favorite still remains Black Rose.
Are there any questions in the room for Yorgo? I think there's some...
I think how much is too much? Because I think a lot of brands, they hire an amazing design studio to do a logo, and then they just put it everywhere. Like, you go in a restaurant, and you know you're in a restaurant because it's on the napkin, it's on the wall, it's on the door, it's everywhere. Like, how much is too much?
That's a good question. Clearly with Black Rose, it's never too much. But for some other brands, there's clearly a bit of common sense to be had. And that's the thing, it's also about human intelligence. People quite often ask me about artificial intelligence. And okay, maybe one day artificial intelligence will be able to create good logotypes. It's not the case now. I try all the things, it doesn't work. But showing restraint is another story, and quite often with other brands, I tell them, don't put the logo everywhere. Keep it quiet. I've just designed a Swiss beauty brand, and they keep on putting it on everywhere in tattoos. on cakes, and I'm happy. But I tell them, be careful, because people are gonna start thinking that your cream is not good enough, and you put the logo everywhere.
I think going back to the Coursier messaging company, coursier.fr, which
in the
you
middle.
see here, which is a C, and it's kind of a moving C. It's just on the side of the messengers and the delivery, and you never have it elsewhere. So it's a messenger, it's a medium to show that it's in movement, it's between two locations, and it doesn't appear anywhere. So it also depends on the logo and the business. I think Black Rose is obviously too much, but it's about a community, so people need to recognize.
It's too much, but sometimes it's not too much. This is how big I have it on my T-shirt. Okay, so on skis it's everywhere, on clothing it's much more discreet.
And you're not wearing any logos, except for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I wearing logos? No.
No.
I don't wear logos.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much.